Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Check it out now.
Gill Alexander, this is the 14th annual buddy, Vegas Lifestyle Podcast on the Beating the Book feed and the Betting Dork feed before that. And this is the one podcast of the year that we do that is not singularly sports betting focused. We always save it for the week between the championship games and the Super Bowl because it's a dead week. So we talk about, for the 14th straight year, just Vegas shit. And what I mean by that is when we were younger, that meant nightclubs and things like that and day clubs. But now we old, so we don't really talk about that so much anymore. But we do talk about restaurants, sports books, apps. Steve is here, by the way. Let me just introduce Marc Meltzer first. The Megapod, the Beating the Book podcast and Betting Dork before that has existed since the year 2011. Only one person has been on at least one podcast every single season, and that is this particular show every year, and that's Marc Meltzer, everybody. They're on the bottom left, at Meltz Vegas. Meltzer like seltzer. What's happening, Mark? How you doing?
I look forward to the numerous text messages that quote you saying Meltzer like seltzer, because you're the only one left. Everything is fantastic. Beautiful day in Vegas. I'm heading back east, and just did some laundry, cleaned out my knit caps and my jacket for the first voyage back east for 7 years.
So Meltzer, and where can people find your stuff? Let's get that out of the way first. Where can you be found most often?
Most often you'll find me at casinos.com. That's regular news and views, so to speak. You'll find me at TravelZork once a week, and that's either Vegas news updates or like a hot topic that's regarding players, clubs, and rewards programs as it relates to Vegas and casinos. And then you'll find me here, there, and everywhere. I have a bunch of stuff coming out on covers this week, maybe next week. So then that'll be based on basically some cheap gambling things: where to play cheap blackjack, where to roll the bones for cheap and get good odds at the same time. So that's pretty much where I'm at today.
Mark is going to represent the everyman here, whereas Steve Fezzik, the only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Supercontest, might be for the more diehard folks who, I don't know, maybe have a little more cash on them. Steve will teach us how to chintz Vegas out of every dollar that he possibly can. How you doing, Steve? You good? Is that an accurate representation?
I'm good. All of us are going to go to like the Pass and get a player's card. This is an Old Town Henderson, and get the $9.99 prime rib special together, or Ellis Island with all the coupons, and get the steak dinner for $13 to show I'm just not an elitist country club beau.
This is where Mark and Steve ran afoul last year on this kind of thing. By the way, Steve, unprovoked, I said everybody we're doing the Vegas Lifestyle today on a numbers game, and a lot of tweets came in. They're like, yeah, could you tell Steve, like, we don't have that kind of dough that what he has, so a little more
I got
relatable.
Something for every budget, even for a budget the size of Crackman's.
Wow. Speaking of whom, Bill Krackomberger, everybody, on the 14th annual Vegas Lifestyle Podcast. What's happening, Billy?
Thanks for having me on. I've never met Mark, but however, he's a great follow. I just looked up his, and of course we follow each other for years at Mark, at Meltz Vegas on Twitter, and a great follow. And like he said, the sites he works for, puts up things. It's fantastic. So it's great to meet him. And of course I follow Steve. I like his everyday ramblings on Twitter, and of course, Gill, I do your show since day one. We've been together on Thursdays on VSiN, and I appreciate the invite here. Listen, I'm out every single day. I'm out to eat. I'm out around town. I just know that I put 27,000 miles on my car a year, and I don't go out of town with it. So that's pretty hard to do. So there we go.
Well, and that's why you all are here, because y'all are experts on what we're about to get into. And I want to start with, we did this last year too, but I hate to say that we got to start with the bad stuff, which is Meltzer. I go to you.
Come on.
You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this.
I have no idea.
When we were kids, and when I mean kids, I mean like 10, 15 years ago and earlier. I always give the Hard Rock example. Used to be able to go down to the pool, the rehab, early in the day. I'm the first person to put my towel on a lounge chair. It's mine for the whole day. Me and my buddies, but threw three more lounge chairs. Those were our chairs for the rest of the day. That is old Vegas. Old Vegas is long gone. Day clubs, nightclubs. And you texted me when Fezzik and I were doing numbers game Monday. You texted me during that show to let me know what the March Madness pricing was. Can you explain to folks who are thinking about coming into town for the Super Bowl or March Madness what the prices are these days?
Yeah, it's pretty insane price-wise. So there's essentially, you could still get a general admission seat in sports books, I would say 95% of the year. So don't freak out. But when there's a large event like the Super Bowl, like March Madness, the casinos are looking to, they're corporations. They have to make more money every quarter of every year. So when you think about it in that mindset, they're going to look to nickel and dime wherever they can. And the sports books, are target number one for major events because they know people are going to go and they know people are going to pay, which is the worst thing, because the best thing you can do if you don't want prices to continue rising is not pay them. However, people don't seem to care. So what I sent you on Monday was the Caesar Palace sports book for March Madness. The prices start at $500 per day per person. And that's
per session. Per session.
Yes, correct. Per session. Thank you for clarifying that. And that's inside the main sports book. You get 3 beers with that every day. That'll give you enough drinks for a few hours. I guess not, but whatever. You can sit behind the bar at the Caesars Palace Sportsbook for under $200, which normally is a walkway from the casino area to the forum shops. It's outside of Omnia. So you're sitting like what'll feel like a mile away. But they're not the only ones that charge that much money. If you go to Top Golf, you can get bay packages that are going to start at like $100 a person and per day for 4. It's insane. The Cosmo Party, it's open booze. You can play hoops there. It's one of the better parties, but it's going to cost you $300 a day. Fontainebleau has their theater. They're going to charge you a couple $100 a day. Westgate's one of the great bargains where you can actually get in there for probably around $100 to $150 a day in the International Theater just for a seat. You get the good lines, you get fair lines there. South Point remains one of the best deals. It's off the strip, but they've got the ballroom. They've got the ballroom with free entry, cheap eats, good odds. So that's always a good thing for groups, I think. And we're looking March Madness. Fezzik mentioned Ellis Island earlier. I was looking at prices at Ellis Island for March Madness, and they start at $175 per day for their March Madness party. It's
Ellis Island.
Ellis Island. It's everywhere. So it's not even.
Wow.
It's not even that it's just the Vegas Strip, which is the predominant place where you're going to have to pay money, but reservation fees and such. It's literally everywhere. Circa, the prices are off the charts. You can walk into Stadium Swim for the Super Bowl, pay under $200, but that's standing room only. If you want a seat, you're going to pay more. So, it's.
The reason I start with
for March, sticking with March Madness, though, it's insane because it's the first 2 days are more money than the next 2 days. Sunday is pretty much getaway day for visitors, so there are very few parties, and you could probably just walk into the book on that day. One thing I recommend to people is A, look off strip if you're budget conscious. B, if you don't really care, just walk around, and you can walk, from book to book, from casino to casino, from bar to bar, and catch enough of the games. But if you do want a seat, you're either going to have to get there super duper early. When I moved here, when you talk about 15 years ago, when I moved here, they were the legend of people paying homeless to stay overnight in a sports book, so they had a seat for tip-off at 8 a.m., for the first game of March Madness. That's no longer the case because the books will be closed.
The Caesars thing, just the first day of March Madness and the second day, Thursday and Friday, one session is over $500. When we say one session, that's a half day. So it's the early games, how it kind of breaks up in the middle of the day, the first and second day of March Madness. The full day is almost $900 if you wanted to do both sessions.
I'm looking at the tweet that I did. It's full day is $850, early session $550, and late session is $650.
There you go. Okay. So I just throw that out there because I think that's the way to start, because I think that's the biggest sort of sticker shock for anybody. And when it comes to the Super Bowl, then it's not quite that expensive, or is it? It's
yes and no. Your Super Bowl is one day, so you're obviously only paying for that one day. South Point, as I mentioned, always has their free party in the ballroom. Great option. But if you're at a casino, you're going to be paying, somewhere around $500 a seat. If you're at Aria, it's $350 for a lounge chair in that sports book that needs very new screens, because I feel like they've been here since day one. But you get a free buffet with that. So, you get a little something with it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mean to start with the bad stuff, but most people, I think, Mark, you and I are simpatico on this. We come from the East Coast. Our buddies are from the East Coast, right? And, we've talked about this before on this podcast, where it's like, hey, go to Circa, it's fun and everything. And they go once and they love it, and it's the most wonderful thing they've ever seen in their life. But they're strip people, right? So if you say, are you going to go back to Circa, right? They're like, yeah, no, it was great. Don't get me wrong. I love the experience, but I'm just going to go back to the strip again. So I think people are just locked into the strip. And when we sit here and we say, oh, yeah, you can go to the South Point, which are all great recommendations, right? You can go to the South Point, you can go to the Westgate, you can do this. I know my buddies just don't have the bandwidth for that, for whatever reason, right? They're just going to be like, nah, we're staying on the strip. So we're going to pay out the booty hole,
Yeah, and you know what? When you're younger, you're a little bit more willing to spend, the $20, the $10, $15 for an Uber off the strip to save a few bucks. But when you're older, you definitely are sort of stuck in your ways. That's how I am with restaurants nowadays. I go to the places I like, and I've tried almost everything that I want to try at this point. When there's a new restaurant opening, I definitely want to explore. But for the most part, I'm sticking with the try and true things. And the people that love Circa have a good reason to love Circa. It's fantastic. But
it's fantastic.
But like you said, the majority of people that visit Las Vegas stay on the Vegas Strip, and they're less apt. If think about it, the way I like to think about it is that you're here for 72 hours. You don't want to spend one of those hours in a cab going back and forth to and from your hotel and casino. You really just want to spend 5 minutes to walk to the next property, or 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how fast you walk through Aria to get to Park MGM.
Billy, I'll meet you at Ellis Island for $150 each to spend a Super Bowl Sunday at Ellis Island.
It's this is actually even shocking to me hearing this. I didn't know this. I didn't know that a local casino like Ellis Island is charging for parties, and I just didn't know this. I didn't know this went on. I thought the locals were all free. I believe, now I could be wrong about this, Mark would know, like the local casinos like Stations and stuff, they're not charging for along Boulder Highway and stuff. They're not charging for people to sit down, I wouldn't think, for Super Bowl or March Madness, are they, Mark?
Correct. That's correct. What they are charging, though, is for parties, like we're saying. The off strip, you can definitely get a general admission seat. You got to arrive early. But if you want a secured seat, reserved seat, you can also, Westgate does the same thing. You could pay $200 to reserve a seat during the Super Bowl at the Westgate, or you could take your chance and just show up. It's really a matter of what your priority is. But you're right. The off strip books, you can sit for free. But the parties, like every Station casino property has about five different parties in their different restaurants and bars. So you can check out their blog. They detail everything from Green Valley Ranch to Durango to Red Rock. and Sunset Station. Every property of theirs, has multiple parties.
So I got to chime in.
Fezzik is chomping at the bit because I know where he wants to go with this.
Well, you probably do. So all I'm hearing is complaining and bitching, and everyone's upset about like all this cost. So how do I gain the system so I can sit and watch my Super Bowl and drink and have a good time? And it goes back to, don't be the peanut butter approach guy. Don't be walking around, if you're in Vegas or not in Vegas, don't gamble at 30 different casinos and they all think that you're like a real low-level gambler and you're not going to get any perks. Focus, specialize. I mean, it's not going to do any good at Bellagio, but go to a place the size of, say, the Palms or Treasure Island or downtown, go ahead and play in the Four Queens and be a little mini whale there. Show them the play. Billy will be the first guy to tell you about Four Queens and all their promotions, video poker, things like that. Don't try to score these great comps. I mean, I'll use an example. So I barely play at the Palms, but I had a good bet size. So what's this? Boom! The Palms wants me and an invited guest to go to their Super Bowl party. And I get these all the time. And it's not like I'm playing that much. So if you are a gambler and you're gambling already, why spend an hour here, an hour there, walk over to the Cosmo, walk to Bellagio? No, take a mid-level strip property and become a mini whale there. So you get invites and you don't have to pay nothing and you just show up and you talk to your host and boom, you can get a seat.
It's great advice. A great strategy. And I always tell people, do you want to be the big fish in the small pond or the small fish in the big pond? Those are words to live by for me when you're looking at rewards and maximizing your dollars. And back when I was an East Coast gambler, my old original handle back when I first met you, Gill, I used to go to Showboat, not the greatest property, but my bankroll went so much farther there than it did at Caesar's Palace, which at the time, Caesars owned both of them. But because I played at their lesser property, I got everything. I got the greatest comps, the greatest suites, all for the same budget that I would spend at Borgata and get nothing. At Caesar's Palace, get nothing. So it really does matter where you play and what your goals are is really what matters. Because my friends that visit, their goals are not the same as mine. And they do want to go to the nice fancy place, the news thing. They're not looking for rewards. That's their trip. When I'm not with them, I'm not like that though.
Right. Which is why, the reason we do this podcast is partially for Fezzik's advice on that, because I think it's great, actionable stuff. But I do think the whole time you're saying that, Steve, the whole time I'm thinking, yeah, but my buddies, I tell them that, right? If I'm like, okay, guys, go to the Palms. Like, as soon as I in any way inconvenience them or what they'll deem as an inconvenience, they'll just be like, shut up, Bill. We're just going to drink and play blackjack.
It's very difficult. A basic strategy. Don't have 8 guys go to the strip together because you're never going to agree on where to go to dinner and to do it. It's like 3 is a great number. I've found like 2 to 4 is a good number. Most people, can reach a common ground. And I will say this, if it's become in Vegas, if you're not a VIP of some status at a casino, you are at the bottom. So even at like a world-class resort like Wynn, I love the Wynn, but if you're just going into the Wynn without any stats, you're waiting in the long lines. It's not going to be as enjoyable as, say, as having the royalty treatment at a 4-star or 3.5-star restaurants and experiencing the casino. You go in and just being a diamond member, and it's easy to become a diamond member or platinum member. Boom. Now you're checking in the Diamond Lounge. You're not waiting in an hour line, maybe an hour and a half line to get into Vegas. Once you do that, you'll look at that line and you'll say, I'm never going through that again. Marc's mentioning he doesn't even want to be in a cab for 10 minutes. Imagine waiting in line for an hour and a half to check in at Caesars or Bellagio.
That, by the way, a $20 bill still works on those. Just go to the front, slip them a 20, you'll go to the front of the line. Just the most actionable advice I can give you. But I'm curious, all 3 of your answers to this. So, Stevie, I know you like, for you, Caesars, the key point that I don't think people know, from year to year, even though we mentioned that, is this status stuff is transferable to other properties. So what is, Steve, in your opinion, then we'll ask for Bill and Marc's also, what is your opinion the casino to do that at to elevate quickest?
Yeah, so Caesars is the best one to start with because they have 10 times tier credit days and 7 times tier credit point days. So you can become a platinum in like 20 minutes on a 10-time point day. And by the way, just, gamble responsibly. Here's Bob Dancer's Jacks Are Better, video poker. You're playing at 98.5 to 99.5% game. Like you put through, if you want to become a diamond, I think you got to put 50,000 through. That sounds like an insane amount. But you're at your disadvantage is like $700. You might get unlucky. You might lose $1,500. You know what? You got 3 buddies in town. You all want to become a diamond? Pool it. Sit down together. Say we're all gonna share in this, and we're all gonna get our diamond card. Now, boom, we're gonna be going to the Bahamas. If you're on the East Coast, you get to go to the Bahamas in the wintertime for free. I've done it. It's like you can't believe it. This is actually working. They're not charging me nothing. To stay down there. Great vacation. And then once you have that diamond card, Gil, you mentioned the matching status. So I got my 7 stars. I go over to the Win. They're like, oh, we match. We'll give you a Win Black. I'm like, what are the benefits? They're like, well, you get 2 free rounds of golf. And I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. It's $800 per person. I walk up to my host. I'm like, can I have 2 rounds of golf? And he punches me up. I have hardly any play. And he's like, when would you like to play, Mr. Fezzik? I'm like, I can't believe it. Yeah. So you get the idea. I mean, it's so valuable to have these matching stats. Fontainebleau gave me 2 free nights just for being a Fontainebleau Royal, and I never play there.
Billy, you got similar advice?
I agree. Now I'm more stick to local places myself because I like what Mark said, being a big fish in a little pond. I'm just looking at the recent mail. Like this is just recent mail that I have. Now, and it's just local places. Tuscany. I like the restaurant. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it, but there's a good Bistecca is over there. I think it's great. They give me $100 every month to go spend there. Plus, I earn a lot of dollars there. And on Mondays and Thursdays, they have matching points. I'm seeing here, so you can get double that. I mean, so I like going over there. I think they have some decent video poker. Nothing crazy, almost 99%. But they have bonus days, and I love going there for that. This is the South Point. I absolutely love the South Point. I go there, 3-4 times a week. Stations Casinos. I like going there too. I like going to some of the casinos. By the way, our buddy Todd just texted me and said that Red Rock is charging for seats for both events. But I also have like the Venetian because I went there and gave them a big play on a bonus that my buddies found and they didn't have enough money for it. By the way, I went partners with Randy McKay over the phone, over video. Those things always don't work out. It was a giant machine. It's $135 a spin. We were in stupid money. Stupid. Put it this way. We hit an $18,000 bonus at the end and lost money. So you don't always win. But they've been sending me some good bounce back offers since then. Give me about $2,000 in cash. Food there. I go to the Mediterranean restaurant there constantly. And Mark, what's that name? The place. It's been there for years. It was over at Cosmo first. Now it's over at the Venetian. It's fantastic. Milos. Thank you. Milos. I've been there. I get free Milos every month. I've been going there once a month for free. So I like going to the local casinos, but let's not fool around. The Win is the class of the town. My favorite casino to go to. It's just the ambiance, the restaurants, overlooking the golf course there. They have some overlooking the pools. They have so many good restaurants, and you just feel like you're walking into royalty there. I've seen Steve win there. I've seen Elaine win there multiple times back years ago. When the pandemic came and everyone was having $59 and $29 rooms, the Win also had $79 rooms. There was a giant fist fight. It was videotaped by the pool at the Encore. It was unbelievable. And Elaine Wynn said, that's enough of that. We will now be the highest rack rate on the strip. Basically, what I'm getting to is they keep the riffraff out of the joint. So you're going to pay for that, though. You're going to pay more for a cup of coffee if you're paying. You're going to pay more for an ice cream cone than almost anywhere else. But you're paying for the safety of the place. You're paying for the class, the elegance, the marble, the Carrara marble from Italy, and the tiles, and I love the Win. I'm the sports book there. It's much smaller, but Doug is very good to myself. He's very good to Steve. The Wynn is my favorite place in town.
I got to chime in on the Wynn.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to just follow up with what you guys are saying on the reward stuff, but go, Steve.
Everything Bill said about the Wynn. I've never had a bad meal. And think about it. It's not just about the food. It's about the ambiance. It's about raising your spirits in life. So if you're staying with your family and maybe you get a casino rate and you're paying $800 a night, you know what? If there's 4 of you, you're all paying $200 a night for a life experience that is just tremendous. Best buffet in town, in my opinion. If you're a carnivore, you might prefer Caesars. But that Wynn is just outstanding. And from the low end, well, they have no low ends, but like the coffee shop or Allegro's, the Italian place, to if you have never gone to Delilah's, their supper club, that is like a world-class experience. You will literally go home like a year from now. You're like, oh, I remember that night I had at Delilah's. Wow, that was just outstanding. And just personally, I've always found like when I'm at Aria or Venetian or Palazzo and I go to a really nice restaurant there, it's just not the same for whatever reason than going to Wingley or Mizuma's or all these restaurants at the Wynn.
We will circle back to the Wynn because all that you're saying is right. It's the only place I still feel like I'm on vacation when I'm in town. But last thing on the rewards, Mark.
Yeah. So there's a couple things, and don't disagree with anybody at all. There's a great website called Miles Talk where they talk about points, rewards nationally as well, or worldwide as well as Las Vegas. He has a thing called the status match merry-go-round, where you can take, like Steve said, you can take your Caesars rewards. Then whenever there's promotions with other properties, take your diamond card. I did it. I went from Caesars to Fontainebleau, got my upgrade there, tried to go to the Venetian rewards. I was not matching Fontainebleau at the time, but they were doing other programs. And besides, they weren't giving out any of the good stuff with their new rewards program, which is a whole other issue about status matching. But you can always do this kind of merry-go-round. So if you focus your play on one, you can always find promotions to dabble in other properties, explore them. When I did my upgrade over at Fontainebleau, they gave me $100 free dinner or food credit. I combined that with a friend of mine. We had a wonderful night out, $250 in comp steaks, wine, drinks, everything. It was a fantastic time. So that's another way to go if you're looking just to maximize and get everything from everywhere that you can. Another way you could do that is with what they call the Founders Card. It costs about $400 a year, and previously they would give you upgrades at different travel rewards programs. So it could be your worldwide hotel programs. It could be a casino. They previously, Matt, gave you Diamond at Caesars. So essentially you're paying $400 to get Diamond at Caesars. In order to keep it, you have to spend the money to keep it, but you can use that to match elsewhere, which is fantastic. But they're no longer with Caesars, they're with Wynn. So you're going to be able to get an upgrade, pay to get an upgraded rewards program at Wynn, which I totally agree is the top of the top. It's top of the food chain in Las Vegas. There are luxury resorts in Las Vegas, Venetian, Bellagio, Cosmo, but nothing comes close to the service and the atmosphere at Wynn. And I still love it. And also, if you want a great cup of coffee, Earth Cafe in the little shopping promenade, fantastic, massive cups of coffee.
You don't even have to gamble, Gilly.
Yeah.
If you don't gamble, just go into the MGM, sign up for that credit card. Boom, you're Pearl. Now that you're Pearl, you can start doing this merry-go-round that Mr. Seltzer has told you how to do. And just I love that you mentioned that Earth Cafe, because the Wynn has so many little Easter eggs as you're walking around, through the shopping area and even the convention center area. I would never, of course, walk through the convention area while a convention's going on and sample the food or the coffee, especially when I'm dressed up. No, not me.
No.
But like one of my favorite hidden secret walks is you walk back by the convention area in the Wynn, and you can go into the back area and just walk right out and get that view of that golf course. So if you're not a golfer, you can walk out and actually be, on the, the teeing areas of a hole and get the view and the sphere. And it's just spectacular. Doesn't cost you anything.
Okay, let's move on. We'll circle back to the win and our favorite sports books and that stuff. But real quick before we get to that, last year at this time, we were a bunch of complainers. We were fetching about a whole bunch of stuff, not just the prices for Super Bowl March Madness. We were complaining about the Fontainebleau, which came into town, did everything wrong, the way that they tried to, whatever the opposite of ingratiate themselves is to the town, right? And the other thing we complained about hugely and justifiably was F1 for tourists and residents alike who were here for a 5-month period before the F1 race at the end of November of 2023. We were still smarting from that, and we were like, holy crap, this thing's going to happen 9 more times, God help us. Am I correct in saying that F1 wasn't nearly as bad this year, right? That is not as big of a problem as it was, and that the Fontainebleau is kind of like, okay, well, we know what it is, and some people actually like it. Is that fair?
Spot on, Mr. Alexander. In fact,
Thank you.
I hate F1 more than anyone, as you know.
Yes.
And that's why the Tropicana has been under construction, Tropicana Road, for 18 months, because they got all the projects, no problem building up and down all these bridges for F1. But I have done a 180 on the Fontainebleau. Now, part of it could be that, they comp me for a couple nights, which isn't going to hurt, their status. But they do a lot of things right. I mean, those restaurants, that Mama Wolf restaurant, that's my second favorite restaurant. I would say Nobu, the top 3, I'd say Nobu and Caesars, Fontainebleau, and Delilah's in the win, as far as overall experiences. But if you go to the video poker bar area by the sports book, you can get a premium, like old fashioned, like a $25 old fashioned, just throw on, like Meltzer just put $100 into the video poker machine. Mark, you've done it, right? And then drink like you are like you're Donald
An aristocrat.
Trump.
Right.
I have some bad news for you, Fez. They changed their policy, and now they cap the drinks at $18. I will not say what I drank, but I did have a $100 glass of bourbon when they first opened, just because they were still figuring out their policies. But now they're just sort of, the bar there is sort of the same as every other video poker bar, where you can get up to $18 to $20 something.
Gilly, before pre-production, Mark and I were talking about, you go into the high limit area, and a lot of them have double deck blackjack, so know how to play basic strategy. And you sit down one hand into the double deck. Well, there's no mid-shoe entry. You can't play. That's the rules, but you can still order drinks. So coincidentally, the cocktail waitress might be right there when you sit down after one hand. It's going to take a good 8 minutes to cycle through that double deck. And so you go ahead and order your old fashioned, your apple martini, whatever you like. It'll be in your hands. And then the shuffle happens, and you know what you can do? You can, and people do this all the time. You can get up and go, actually, but you can play one hand, and you just say, as soon as you lose one hand, so that costs you $1. You're at a 0.5% disadvantage. Basic strategy player, it's going to cost you $1. You lose a hand, you're like, I got a bad feeling about this. Deal me out, and you just walk with your old fashioned.
The big surprise with this tip is that Fezzik doesn't look for an 8-card shoe or an 8-deck shoe, so he could sit there longer and not play.
Right.
Most of them like to win with the mid deck, but that's better. I like that. There are some shoes that they won't let you enter.
That strategy also works at the video poker bar in the high limit rooms as well. You could, throw some money in, play a few hands, get a high quality drink that you're not going to go on a casino floor, and if that's how you want to roll, God bless, have a great time. Not how I roll, but
and high-end bathrooms.
Play it. That's my issue.
Never, ever use a bathroom, a community bathroom in Las Vegas. Always go, and Bill, you've done this, right? Especially if you've had something. You have the wrong thing to eat. You eat a big buffet. Boom, going the high limit. No one's ever in those bathrooms, and they're pretty nice. Yeah.
How about those high limit, when you go in the high limit rooms, Caesars used to have it, and in the back of their high limit table games area, they have the little food set up, and no one's checking for your 7-star card. Just there's probably all over town. Now, I don't do this, but I know that all over town they have these little high-end, especially on the weekends, clubs set up on the weekend for the higher players. You're dressed nice. You act as if. I mean, they had homeless people in these places years ago, and people suing that they couldn't, and that they won actually. You're allowed to walk into any high limit pit and watch the players. Some people don't like that. Now there's those private rooms and stuff, but they have the high limit areas set up with a little buffet, like snacks and little mini cheeseburgers or whatever, sliders. And you can just walk right in if you just act as if. That's what I found.
Palms has that.
Past.
So Palms by the registration area, just walk in. There's a couple hosts there. Just act like you know them, wave to them, and just get your coffee. Go ahead and get your muffins. Yeah. Well, you and I will do that. It's fun.
Do you guys wait? Let me just clarify that. So, are you saying like how the Tower Suites at the Aria has like a little buffet at the bottom there, but you're not necessarily staying in a Tower Suites room, or at the Bellagio, there's that when you walk into the beautiful lobby. If you go right to the right there, there's like a door with all kinds of shit in there too. Are you saying you would just walk in there? Yeah.
No. Too high.
You have to have a card. Oh. You need a card to slide to get in. So the Wynn has one
like
too.
The Palms, a medium end place doesn't have a what do they call that? Someone at the door. They don't have a doorkeeper basically to check people.
Just check.
Yeah.
Let's get to the good stuff. We'll crescendo to restaurants, but let's drift back into sports and sports betting. Let's talk about brick and mortar sports books, and then we can talk about apps. Brick and mortar sports books. If you had to watch a game there, let's not talk about Super Bowl March Madness. Let's just talk about on a normal day in Vegas. Let's say a football weekend, on a college football Saturday, or even like a Wednesday watching NBA. What are your favorite sports books to hang out in, Bill?
Okay, for fandom, if I'm with my friends and they love to hang out, they're East Coast guys from back east, and they want to come into town, I'll go to a Circa or Westgate where they're getting an experience like they've never seen before. Giant screens all around them, and it's just like the mega of the world. Now, if I'm just with one friend and I want to hang out and get some free drinks, and I'll go to the Wynn, because the Wynn Sportsbook is great to me, and I get drinks and stuff. But if I'm with a group, I like going to like the Westgate. I'll hit up John Murray or someone there, and they'll get me into even one of the booths or something. They're very good to me over there at the Westgate with a group. But like I said, one friend, I'm probably going to go to the Wynn.
Fez?
I'm going to the Wynn. I love that boutique feeling there. But Circa, I'm gonna spill. I'm gonna say Stadium Swim's kind of part of the casino. Watching games in Stadium Swim, you don't need a seat. Don't pay for a seat. Just jump in the pool and watch the games. It is just tremendous. Caesar's Palace, Todd, Gilly, and I have hung out there just in those recliners in the back. It's so dark and it's very relaxing. So it is smoky.
So smoky though. Yeah,
I can't stand
Westgate
smoke.
Stations. Westgate, it's cavernous. They do a nice job. And I think stations, the high end stations, Green Valley and Red Rock, and certainly South Point. I like South Point separates the race book from the sports book. That is really nice because those two groups don't always play nice together.
They don't. That's right. I will also concur that Circa, for those who don't know, Circa's sportsbook downtown. Casinos resort properties are known for things. Circa is known for, like when you think of it, it's the sports book, the world's largest sports book. And of course, what Steve said, Stadium Swim is part of that, adjunct to that. And I agree with the Wynn call. We don't usually talk about the Wynn sports book, but it's like a stock market Times Square-ish kind of look. It's super well lit. You just feel just like the Wynn brand that you're in the best place. Though I will say like another sort of hidden gem on the Strip, when you can't get a seat somewhere else or the other places are too smoky or whatever. I think I brought this up last year too. The Cromwell, which is right in the middle of the Strip, corner of Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard. It's only about 20 seats. Like the Cosmo, it's small, Cosmopolitan. But both of those books have great screens and are usually accessible. Cosmopolitan, maybe not as much. But the Cromwell's kind of a hidden gem that there's always a seat available in.
Let me talk about the Cromwell also, because Paris, Flamingo, Horseshoe, these are dumps. Sorry. The Cromwell used to be the Barbary Coast. It is tremendous. So if you're like a 7-star and you go in there, they're going to upgrade you to their suites. I've stayed there numerous times. They have a pinball machine suite. they in the book, Koenig's book, The Sharp Money, he's like, Dole Dale says, we got suites and they're nice. And he says, and they're not kidding. Those are some of the best suites and the most easily accessible suites. You just book a normal room. You got some status. You're like, go to see a host. They're like, I'll let you upgrade for $100 a night. Sometimes they give it to you for free.
Yeah. Cromwell rooms are beautiful. Absolutely. Not.
They are.
What do we think the nicest, by the way, I haven't done a staycation in a while, but I used to say Palazzo had the best rooms on the Strip. Is that still true, Mark?
They've been redesigned. It's honestly, at this point, there are so many nice rooms in Las Vegas that it's really difficult to say that something they're either really nice or they're not. Like there's very little in between, if that makes any sense. Palazzo Venetian rooms are redesigned or upgraded. MGM Grand is upgrading all their rooms, or have already started upgrading their rooms. They're going to finish that this year. Wynn is still nice. I believe they're going to redo the Encore rooms this year, which, by the way, a great tip. All the Encore rooms are suites. So if you're looking to stay at Wynn, you can get a much larger room if you stay in the Encore Tower instead of the Wynn traditional tower, the original tower. Just a little tip on there. But I've always loved the Palazzo. Just vibe-wise, it's one of my favorites. And we talk about the good restaurants. Yardbird's still one of my favorite restaurants. I go there for conferences all the time. I much rather, if I'm going between Venetian and Palazzo, I'd rather spend time inside the Palazzo. But you have a lot.
Venetian, what makes them outstanding, the rooms, is they're a dual level. There's like a 4-step drop, and there's like a gate there. So if you're staying like with 4 people, it's almost like you have a separate like living area below. It may be the same square foot, but it feels, Bill, you've stayed at those places. Doesn't it feel like so much more spacious?
Yeah, there's a couple steps down. It is. They're all suites. They're really nice. They absolutely are nice. When I'm over there, I spend most of my time if I'm at the Wynn. But as Mark said, the Palazzo is just such class, such great restaurants over there. In general, one of my favorite steakhouses there. It's between the Venetian and the Palazzo. Cut is fantastic. Wolfgang Puck Steakhouse. It's also a bust-out joint. It's one of the most expensive steaks in town. So, but it's good.
I love a bust-out joint.
They'll bust you out.
Hey, Gill, a couple of sportsbook bits for you, if you want. Yes. Paris itself, to quote Fezzik, is a dump, but their sportsbook has been recently renovated, so it's way nicer than it's been.
Wow,
and it's probably it's the nicest part. It was finished last year. It's actually been done for a while, right around March Madness, I believe. But it's super nice now. It looks very much like the Palm Sportsbook, which is a William Hill sportsbook, similar design, much nicer than it used to be. Not the best, but way nicer than it used to be. And connected to Paris is the Horseshoe Casino. They used to be Bally's. They no longer have a sportsbook, so that sportsbook feeds 2 connected hotels, just on that tip. Another sportsbook off the Strip that nobody mentioned that is one of my favorites, and I think a legitimate destination sportsbook the way Circa is for people to go downtown, the Durango Sportsbook with the connected Sportsman's Lounge restaurant and outdoor area is just a phenomenal sports betting environment. You have a traditional sportsbook on the inside. You've got a great sportsbook bar where you don't even have to sit in the lounge chair. You could bang around video poker. They have decent pay tables there. If you want to eat something, you can go right next door and get a view of the sportsbook video screens. It's an absolutely fantastic place, and I recommend if anybody's ever looking for something off the Strip, it's a great place to go, and it's one of my favorite locals casinos, and I live equidistant now between Palace Station, Red Rock, and Durango. I spend most of my free time going to Durango, whether it's to eat, hang out, gamble, whatever the thing may be. A few other surprises. Suncoast in Summerlin recently renovated or built a brand new sportsbook. It's sort of theater style, and it's reminiscent. Think about a smaller version of a traditional sportsbook like Circa or Westgate, just a nice, small but larger space and brand new screens and that similar dark environment that I can't remember who mentioned, but I love a dark vibe on the sportsbook where it makes the screens feel even brighter. That's a brand new, that opened last year. What do you call it? Ellis Island is building out a new sports book. So I'm not sure when that's going to be completed. I believe this summer. Sunset Station off the Strip, they just redid their sports book. And Mandalay Bay, a couple years ago, replaced their screens, and it looks really good there. You're at Mandalay Bay, and it feels the prop. What's that?
I said I had no idea they did either. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that, but it's such a dark environment there as well, and the screens look super duper bright. And one of my favorites in this area where I live is Rampart Casino. They use the same lines as South Point, but it's a nice, small, comfortable sports book with different types of seating and plenty of room for people. And it's because you're out in the burbs, you could generally find a seat there.
See, this is why I have you on, because Paris is literally across the street. I had no idea that book was open. And then I had no idea Mandalay had new screens finally, because it used to be so bad in there. Like the screens were so poor that you would never even think to go there. Does the Virgin Betfred Sportsbook, is that even a thing?
So Virgin is going through some major changes right now. Mohegan Sun is out as casino operator. Betfred is out as sportsbook operator. The owners who license the Virgin brand, it's not a Richard Branson joint. It's a third-party license. So they are going to take over operations of the casino and sportsbook. We don't have a sportsbook operator officially announced yet. There are rumors, but nothing that I feel comfortable sharing. So that's that's a tiny sportsbook, though. I think you might be able to fit 50 people in there at the most.
I'm just curious did Betfred ever even get licensed in Nevada in the end?
To operate here, you can be licensed, but they never got a mobile license. And interesting enough, Bally, or a company called Canby, who operates sports books all over the country, they're going for licensure approval for retail sports betting. And what that means is that they do the sports books for Bally's. So they were going to, when they launch, or once they get approved, they'll be ready to launch at Bally's Lake Tahoe later this year. And if Tropicana if Bally's ever gets things together for the old Tropicana site and builds a new casino, chances are they'll be the operator.
Wait, I thought the old Tropicana site was supposed to be the ballpark.
Well, it's going to be a ballpark, hotel, casino, retail complex. It's going to be way more than just a stadium. The stadium is only 9.5 of the 35 acres.
30. It's so impossible to believe there are 35 acres there. That's incredible to me. We'll come back to the apps here in a second. I just brief aside because I'm thinking about this. So for those who are vaguely aware of Vegas, the old iconic Hard Rock, which we all grew up in, or I'll speak for myself, I grew up in, is now Virgin, where the Mirage is, right? What we knew as the Mirage, which was an iconic property, which was the biggest, like in the early 90s, the Mirage was it in Vegas. That is now going to be the new Hard Rock. And are we still, when is that supposed to be completed? How many years from now? And also, when is the ballpark supposed to be completed? But when is the Hard Rock supposed to be completed? And are we still going with this iconic, massive blue guitar that's going to exist? Is that going to be the new strip?
So the target for Hard Rock opening is still 2027. I'll believe it when I see it, because they are just getting the volcano's gone, the atrium is gone. It looks like just the framing of the property is still there. The pillars are in the ground, from what I understand, to build the guitar hotel tower. That hotel tower will be separate but connected, obviously, to the rest of the property, which is being gutted entirely from the ground to the ceilings. The stadium, they're looking at first pitch for 2028. Again, I'll believe that when I see that, because they're supposed to start construction on that this year, but who knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah. That's amazing to think that the most iconic thing on the Las Vegas Strip is going to be a big Hard Rock guitar one day. Hard to imagine, but that will be the case. The renderings, that thing is massive. Okay, about apps. Let's say you're coming into town, March Madness, Super Bowl, maybe just a random other weekend. maybe for conference tournaments, maybe for an NFL weekend, week 10, week 11, whatever. Steve and Bill, what are the apps? If people are doing this right. Now, again, I preface it by saying, I don't know if my buddies are going to come in town and have the patience. Well, I know one of them will, right? There's always one guy in the group who'll be like, I want to do this right. I want to get as many apps as I can. And if I can fund them, great. Which apps must they download on their phone and then use?
Go ahead, Steve.
There's 4 of them. You need to have Circa and you need to have Westgate because they're the 2 best and they're lightning fast and they're so easy to navigate. You need to have the Win because they have the most unique good lines and the like, although every now and then the app goes down, you got to install it and the like. So it's not as functionally easy as a Circa and the Westgate. And I'd say Station. I think that would be my big 4 that I would go with. Bill, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on Stations and Win. If you're looking for an extra half a point here and there on the marquee teams, against the marquee teams, you'll probably find them at Stations. And closer to game time, sometimes it's amazing. I really don't like to bet a lot of things game times and just like Steve, the market's pretty efficient. But yet, Steve and I find bets every single week. Every single week of the NFL season, there's something to bet at 10 to 10 when the games kick at 10 o'clock because the Win gets a pit player coming in and they bet $200,000 on a game. They want to get off a little bit. They'll offer an extra point sometimes. I've seen a point all throughout these playoffs. I have seen stupid totals, 53 when it's 51 out there. By the way, that game landed 52. Now there's a lot of during the regular season also. They give you some extra things there. So I don't mean to be talking about the Win. They don't pay me anything for doing it, that's for sure. But the Win app, Stations, even though I'm not allowed to play on it, Steve's not allowed to play on it. The Stations app, good to have. I do love, as Mark said, absolutely love the Durango sportsbook area there. They have the George, great restaurant. Oh, so you could sit overlooking the entire sportsbook. Really open air, bright, roomy, great place to also watch games. So I'll tell you the good and bad about Stations. They throw people out that win, but they have a lot of good things too. Especially for the locals and people. Also, yes, I would have the Circa. Circa went down to pick them the other day at game time on the Kansas City game. Someone came in, bet Circa takes $500,000. Right now, you can go on the app. I looked just to see what it was before the show. They're taking $300,000 on the Super Bowl. I don't know anyone in town that's taken that much money on their app. Now, you can go to the counter and dump out as much money as you want at one of the big ones, MGM, Caesars. And, I'm sure you could do that. But we're talking apps, Circa app. Westgate, I agree. And the Westgate app, fantastic. 108 juice on the NFL. And you know what? I also have the South Point app. So South Point also has a good app. And they don't charge juice, extra juice. They instead of going to -3, -20, they go to 3.5. So they stay 3.5. It's a key sports book that I bet throughout the year in the NFL. And baseball lines. They have good 10-cent baseball lines, which is becoming a thing of the past. So there we go.
That's right. They go dime lines higher than most. Yep. I think there's a lot of things. First of all, out of towners, you're going to get frustrated with the exception of Circa or Westgate's app. You're probably going to get frustrated with the user experience with, MGM and Caesars. They're better than they were, but they still are funky. I agree with you guys about Stations. You actually at Stations, I can only speak on in tennis terms, but when you go to the counter, the lines aren't as good as the ones on the app. So there's that as well, which may surprise you. It did me, by the way. And then the other thing, and I think I'm going to anticipate what Meltzer would say here, is the other pain in the ass is you have to fund these all in person, correct? So that's the biggest culture shock.
So I was actually going to ask Bill and Fez, what do you guys recommend on the Vegas Strip for people because you do have to register for the first time in person, and tourists are generally lazy. They don't want to drive out to the other places. What are the apps around the Vegas Strip that you would recommend? Because for me, it would be Circa, because you could go to Tuscany, which is a 5-minute walk from Horseshoe and Cromwell, and you're going to get good lines there. However, if you want to get the Westgate, you can hop on monorail to get there pretty quickly, but it's going to take you 15, 20 minutes to get there. Same with South Point. So which would you recommend for people who want the best options that are near or on the Vegas Strip?
Yeah, ideally you get them all, but there's ways, even with the Strip, there's sneaky ways in the Strip. For instance, if you're driving in from like Los Angeles, you're coming in from Henderson on I-15, boom, Dean Martin Drive is your friend. You exit there, and it takes you right by Mandalay Bay. And and if you're a Pearl member, you park for free, but you still get at least an hour for free. And you walk, you get whisked right into the Mandalay Bay. That's an MGM joint. And it's funny. There are certain properties, Gill, that always showed a loss versus their other properties. So for Harrah's, like the Bowie's used to be the one sports book that they would always lose in, because every pro that they had parking like right next to the sports book there. They called it SBX parking. It may as well have said parking for Fez. That you could just pull in and walk right in. So, but the Mandalay Bay is the only MGM property I know of that I can get in and out of, even with valet. That's my go-to for going into MGM. I don't know about you guys.
Well, even the Caesars parking lot is a walk, to the sports book. Right?
Yeah, you don't have to. I know with the MGM app, you can actually live in New Jersey, and just as soon as you fly into Vegas, it transfers over. You don't have to even reapply or anything. Wow. So that's a big plus. Because people are lazy. Mark said it right. People, when they're here, they get caught up. The neon, the adrenaline. They don't want to walk around and drive around and take Ubers and monorails to sign up for accounts. You're absolutely right. That's the plan before you get here, but it doesn't happen that way. So I know the MGM app, you could just, it just transfers over all your information and you have it without having to go anywhere. So that's good to do.
I've got some bad news on that. I got bad news on that. You still have to go to if you've never been to a Las Vegas sportsbook for BetMGM, you still have to go and do the first time. You have to visually be there to make sure your wallet speaks. Otherwise, just the one time, but still, it's, it's 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. And
I got to
5 minutes is, that's a lifetime on the Vegas Strip.
Yep.
I got to speak to the secret valet for if you're a 7-star, and I love it.
Yeah.
Caesars has a 7-star valet on Flamingo Road. So you get off I-15, you're heading towards the Boulevard, gridlock. Before you hit gridlock, boom. You're between the Bellagio and Caesars there on Flamingo. You turn left and you're into the 7 stars valet. You hand them your keys. They don't even ask me for a ticket, right? And you're right there by the gym. You're right there by the Augustus Tower, the VIP check-in area. It is so convenient. Starbucks for my free drinks. And it raises your spirits. And then you walk out and they don't park they just leave your car right on the curb there. It's like they hand you your keys. You say, oh, yes, Mr. Fez, your car's right there. And now you're back on I-15. Time is money, like Mark said. If you can get access to that 7-star is that valet parking is better than any valet anywhere.
That's what I was referring to.
I was going to say on the other side of the street, the valet for the, I believe it's the North Valet at Bellagio. It's a very similar technique. You just hop in, hop out. It's great. Nobody knows about it. You're by the sports book there. If you really do want to hit, and if you want to set up your quick MGM and you're driving in, it's a great way to do it because, and if you have status, it's no charge or discounted charge, however that would work.
The Caesars is better because they have more spots there. They leave your car. Nothing a $20. By the way, I don't think that you have to be a 7-star if you give them a $20 bill. $20. Hey guys, I'm going to make a couple bets for $20. You're leaving your car right there. Act as if, just give them the 20. They're going to leave your car right there.
Yeah. For the people who have a car and want to get around, that parking lot is, and that's a great bit of advice. You don't have to be 7 stars. Just slip them a 20. A $20 bill will still get you most things in this town. Oh, it's a long cab
ride. Friday
ride?
Night.
Yeah.
Well,
Friday, Saturday night, you better give them 50.
Yeah,
well, I don't know when
Saturday.
When it was Pacquiao Mayweather, and this is a while ago, and the taxi line was 100 deep. A 20 still did the trick. There's a couple things we said in there though. Yeah, it was 1,000 years ago. That's true. I don't know. Are you carrying 50s though? That's the thing. A couple things in there. One, if you have a car, Fezzik mentioned, Stevie mentioned Dean Martin Boulevard, Dean Martin Road, or whatever it's called. It is a road that runs parallel to the Strip, just west of the Strip, which is really the biggest Vegas hack there is, right? Use that, you'll get places quicker than anybody you could imagine getting. The other thing is, we're talking about MGM and that particular app. Somebody told me, Kelly Bidlin figured out from somebody else that you might be able to bet on BetMGM using a laptop now here. They don't advertise it, but it's a possibility that you're able to do it now, which is a big development. And then the last thing I wanted to say is also, you just know this for out-of-towners. You could run into some frustrating things with big ones, Caesars and MGM. My NBA draft story is perhaps, a teaching moment for all of us, which is when you go to MGM, oh, look, my MGM app has this great line. I'm going to go bet it at the desk as opposed to on the app. They will oftentimes tell you it's not available here. You have to bet it on the app. So that's another reason to have your apps funded. And they can also like do the okie doke on you where they're like, yeah, just fund the app. And then when you try to bet it on the app, you're limited to a ridiculous number because of their stupid algorithm. So that becomes a whole thing. Super frustrating. It's not because you're great, right? Even if it's a bet likely to lose, like my NBA draft bet, they'll be like, $33 on the app. Give me my money back. I wouldn't have put the money on the app that you induced me to go put there. I wanted to bet it here. You told me to bet it on the app, and now I can't bet it for any amount of money that I want to. So that's one thing. Caesars, the same NBA draft, spun me in front of my eyes, right, from a 50 to 1 to 25 to 1, which is super illegal, or should be, but they can always lie to you, which they do, and say, oh, someone must have bet it across town at the exact same time. Fuckers, liars, right? So there's all of that, exactly. So there are those moments. Just know that these things still exist in town, but hopefully you don't run into any of those things. I do want to get to restaurant before we leave. We've mentioned a bunch. I would like to start, and then you guys can fill in the gaps, because I have my restaurants of choice that I would like to get to. And no, I'm not giving up the secret sushi spot. Let me just start there. But if you love sushi, sorry, Steve. If you love sushi, Sen, if you're willing to travel for sushi, Sen in Summerlin, SEN, and Kabuto for a little more of a high-end experience. Fantastic. KEBUTO. All kinds of great sushi in this town, flown in or driven in from California every day. So it is like a very top-notch sushi place in this country. I'd put Vegas up there in the top 3. As far as like the strip itself, Meltzer mentioned Yardbird. If you like fried chicken and watermelon at Venetian, always a go-to. Carbone at Aria, when it comes to Italian, is top-notch. So is Sinatra at Encore, which is fantastic. Billy and I have gone to the Italian-American Club off the strip if you want that old-school feel, or Piero's. There are those. There's a place in Summerlin, again, which is like, if you're a real foodie, a place called, I want to get this, I want to get the name right on it. It's called Anima by Edo, ANIMA by EDO. EDO is the name of the chef there. Anima by Edo, which is fantastic. Park MGM on the strip, Bavette's. When you talk about like steaks, Bavette's has just great, Meltzer mentioned this last year, an amazing hamburger. By the way, I think the best hamburger is Bavette's at Park MGM, and then downtown Oscars. Bill 80 hit me to the best burger in downtown was at Oscars, named after, what's my man Oscar's last name, Meltzer? What's his last name again? Oscar
Goodman.
Come on, man. Goodness.
Brain, it's going away. It's leaving us slowly. So there's so many places. My favorite steak is still SW at Wynn. Andiamo at the D is fantastic. There's so many spots. I'll just throw those out and we'll circle around. Billy, what do you got?
Barry's downtown. So let's start with steak. Barry's downtown. I had 2 bad SWs in a row, so I'm not going to put. I used to love SW when Mario and oh my God, there was the greatest Maitre D's there. Mario's now in charge of Cosmo, all the food. I'm not Cosmo. I'm sorry. What's the Fontainebleau? He's in charge there of all the restaurants. I used to love that place, but it's still good. I'm not saying that. Listen, I told you about all my high points at the Win, how the restaurants I love. Steaks, though. I told you guys, cut I like at the Venetian. I do like Peter Luger's at the Forum shop. No, it's actually in Caesars. I've had 3 good meals there, 1 bad. But I love that steak there. But my number 1 steak, I'm still going to the old reliable. It's unbelievable that this place has been here 20 years. I'm still going, even though it's a seafood place, they say, Joe's Stone Crab at the Forum shops. I think it's one of the best steaks in the world with the little side seasoning they bring. Unbelievable. Now let's go to Asian food. Let me just tell you, big hidden gem for years. Now it's out there. Word's out. I go all the time. It's just a pain to get in. 888 Japanese barbecue on the corner of Spring Mountain and Decatur. It's an all-you-can-eat premium food. The premium, it's a little bit more money. So premium, but by the way, I said a little bit more money. People just complained it went up $3. It's $33 now instead of $29. $33. All-you-can-eat premium. You can get even the Wagyu and stuff for another $10, $45. All-you-can-eat. It's ridiculous quality. I'll just tell you one thing. They have never once, and I've been there a dozen times, made money on me. I have made them pay. So, and not that I'm going there to make them pay. It's just that good. Great place. Hard to get in. You have to use their Yelp reservation system, which gets full every single night. Love that place. We have some great spots in Chinatown. Some great places all up and down Spring Mountain Road. Now, pizza places in town. I'm very tough on pizza. I'm very, very tough. You know, it's funny. I just tried a cauliflower pie, and I was like, cauliflower? I would never try something like that. I'm an East Coast guy. Give me a break. But my buddy had it, and I was like, what is this? Look how thin this crust is. It looks great. Let me try. I actually liked it. I can't believe it. That's over at Dom DeMarco's on which by the way, we have all been there. Dom DeMarco's, shout out to them. Great pie. It's Al over there. They have some great pizza. Trying to follow the tradition of Dom DeMarco in Brooklyn, and they have some certain pies there, but that cauliflower pizza I just had. I also there's a pizza place right there in Chinatown. Unbelievable. It's in Chinatown. If you like that type of pie, it's called Double Zero pie. It's really popular now too, because a couple guys gave it some high ratings. Double Zero is one of the pizzas in town I also like. There's some still places I like at the casino. Fountain Blue, Miami Slice, but
yes.
They're bust out places. $8 a slice, $10 a slice. But however, buy a pie. You get a whole pizza for $36. Why would you? If you're buying the slices for $10, you're going to pay a lot more. So that's some good places there. I really don't have anything else for now. I love steaks. I love pizza. I love Chinese food.
I'm going to chime back in on the pizza place because I just want to say this because I don't think I've ever mentioned this place on the podcast. Maybe we have before. It's not on the Strip. I know a lot of people listening are like, I just want places on the Strip. Okay. It's a really short Uber drive to Nora's. Nora's on Flamingo. Huh. It is the best value of any restaurant in town. You can eat like a king there and bring all your friends. You will be so happy with the price of everything. And they have my favorite single pizza in all of Las Vegas, which is the salami pizza. Thank me later. Salami pizza at Nora's. So good. As I'm talking about it, I'm like, how do I get there today? So good.
Ooh.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I jumped in line again. Fez?
Downtown Evil Pie is pretty cool spot. Hole in the wall bar. They got good pizza, good pie. Downtown's good. Even Pizza Rock in Green Valley Ranch, I think quite good as well on pizzas. I want to give a culinary day at Caesars, food-wise. If you're staying at Caesars, I know Caesars inside and out. You want to do breakfast at Americana Cafe, everything is excellent there. Lunch, they have a special Peter Luger's that Bill likes, Gill not so much, but they have for $46 now. You get the burger. You get your Caesar salad or your onion and tomato salad, which is excellent. You get fries and you get an ice cream sundae, and they make their own whipped cream, and it is just outstanding.
Did they give you a pillow for a nap after lunch?
I'm going to get there. So, if you go to dinner, Never get steak for two. If you get steak for two, it's like 1.5 times as much steak for one. So just get the steak for ones. If you have like 4 people, get 3 steak for ones. It'll be more than enough for everybody at dinner. Okay, you ate all that food. Dinner time. You go to Nobu. You got your diamond card. You can use those free drinks for the $25 old fashions or the pineapple martinis. So that's you can go to Stanton Social Prime, or you can go there. Curiously, you can't go to Hell's Kitchen. They don't value it there. But at Nobu, I got to tell you, don't go to the one in Paris or Flamingo. Go to the one at Caesars. It is just world-class. Be sure to get a drink at the bar before taking the whole experience, celebrity sightings there, and ask them, say, what are you known for? Because they have like I don't even like yellowtail, like an appetizer. It's tremendous. And they have a thing called beef Wagyu tacos. And if you think all beef is created the same, Gill, what do you think about those Wagyu tacos at Nobu?
Fucking fantastic is what they are.
I think they're like $80 an ounce, but it's worth it.
All of your recommendations are great, Stevie and Bill. Nobu at Caesars is fantastic. Your stuff at the Wynn that you said earlier, Wing Lei for the duck, Delilah's again for a supper club experience. We talked about this a little last year. I recommend Delilah's to anybody who can get in there. You got to call months in advance though. And in the summertime, they open the seating to the outdoors. You do not want outdoor seating. That's the booby prize. You want to be indoors. If you hate loud places, though, you don't want to go there. It's very loud, but it transports you into the 1920s, the Roaring '20s with the music. It is an unbelievable experience. I'll let Meltzer go, but I have one more downtown that I think I mentioned last year that needs to be mentioned. Go ahead, Mark.
All right, I got a slew for you. My current favorite steakhouse is Don's over at Fontainebleau. There are 2 different steakhouses there. Don's is the traditional one on the first floor. They also have one upstairs where you can get a steak delivered, like bottle service style. Very strange, and people love it. Not just on my thing. Pappy Steak is called. It's from the Fontainebleau in Miami. Carver Steak over at Resorts World. Still a fan of it. John George's, you turned me on to that years ago. Still a fan. Andiamo, you mentioned Strip Steak over at Mandalay Bay. They cook their steaks over wood, which gives it a different flavor than other steaks. They just redesigned the restaurant. Still looks great. Steaks are still good. Bavette, you mentioned that burger to die for. The steak is fine. The bacon, if you are a large person that likes to eat fatty foods, the bacon is insane. They also have a very special cocktail menu with some special old fashions if you're into those. One other tip with Bavette's, if it's sold out, just walk in, go all the way to the back and look left, and there's a secret bar and with a few tables where you can either eat and or drink. So again, also with Bavette's, the most glutinous great bread in town as well. So they have a bunch of stuff at Bavette's. The bread, the bacon that Mark's talking about is like this sweet, thick bacon. Like you can't even explain it. It's so good. Like a ham steak with bacon. It's ridiculous. And they have
the Luger bacon is really good. And they're the same thing with the bread. They bring out all these breads and these specialty chocolates and just tip them good and you get them to go and they'll just bring you out like enough to feast on for your family.
Luger's is where I learned about the bacon appetizers, and the bacon at Luger's. I've only had New York, and it's fantastic. I can keep going with some a couple.
Going, but I want to just say one more thing.
I'll go off a sec
before you go on. Strip steak. The other thing I wanted to say about strip steak, is it still like tons of seating? Because the great thing about strip steak was if it is crowded in town and there are no reservations to be had, and you need a reservation that night, strip steak at Mandalay Bay is always the best hack for that because it's still an awesome steak. No one ever thinks about it because it's in the back of Mandalay towards the Aces Arena, and it always comes through in a pinch. So I'll throw that in for a strip steak.
That's a good tip. I've never heard that before. So thank you for that. A couple more steak places. Scotch 80 over at Palms has a very delicious rib cap. Bizarre Meat that used to be at Sahara is moving over to the Venetian, and while while it's not a steakhouse, it's a meat house, and it's all kinds of delicious meats. And I'm a big fan of that place. And it's one of those restaurants where the menu is so large that it's overwhelming. But if you tell the staff how much money you want to spend, they will feed you for as many courses as you can handle. I think we said the last time I was there, we want to spend $150 per person. That includes wine. We got, I think, 7 or 8 courses plus wine for the night. One giant steak to share, then a bunch of little, shareable plates. And it was a fantastic dinner.
That's outstanding advice, because just give them a price, let them bring the meat for you, because you will legitimately get pissed off trying to navigate that menu by yourself.
Yeah, and then and some non steakhouses, because I do eat some non-steak. We talked about Asian food. You guys left off one of my favorites, Ping Pang Pong over at Gold Coast.
Oh, yes.
Still one of the greatest values in all of Las Vegas. When I first started visiting Las Vegas, I would stay at the Gold Coast because I could afford to stay at the Gold Coast. And Ping Pang Pong, I was just there 2 weeks ago after a Macallan tasting at the Rio, and it is still fantastic. And surprisingly, no line on the Saturday night. La Thai downtown is a great restaurant if you like Asian food. Also staying downtown, Esther's. You guys, I think, Gill, that might be your secret spot.
Forgot about that. Fantastic.
Pizza Rock is still a great place downtown as well. One of the great things about the Esther's area, the Arts District, there are a ton of breweries in that area, all walkable. So you could bang out 5 different places to get beer and then end up at Esther's, which getting a reservation there might be a little bit difficult, but there's a bar you could sit at if you just want to grab some delicious food. We mentioned
Esther's expanded into a bigger space, so it lost a little of its charm, but the food, and I always recommend, I was like, just go there and get the spaghetti. That's it. Don't go crazy, just spaghetti. And the bread there is awesome too if you're in.
I was just there last week. Place is great.
Yep.
I need to find out the right name, but the chef there also has a restaurant in my neck of town, Summerlin, called Solo al Polisto, I believe, or Polisto al Solo. It's over at Tivoli Village. It's delicious, and it's Italian food, and super nice guy. I met him once when I was eating at the bar there, and it's an excellent off-strip restaurant if you're looking for Italian food. We mentioned Bavette's Burger, the Tavern Burger over at Fountain Blue. We were talking about the Video Poker Bar. The burger there is actually solid, and they have my favorite local beer, Atomic Duck, from Abel Baker Brewing, which don't see it everything. I'm glad that Bill mentioned Miami Slice, because the slice there was so good.
Honey.
It just bothers me as a New Yorker to pay $9 for a damn slice of pizza. But like Bill said, if you buy the pie, you'll save a few bucks, and probably a smarter way to go. Yardbird over at Venetian, still one of my favorites. Jaleo at Cosmo, it's always good, and they have sangria hour. You can get discounted sangria, and they have some little.
Love Jaleo.
Man, I love Jaleo. The little Papas Bravas, the little potatoes there, the little mini burger, everything there is delicious. And yeah, we have to get back to the Overlook Grill at Cosmopolitan for the breakfast burrito there. One of the best in town.
So when the pool is open at the Cosmopolitan, they have this Overlook Grill that's open next to it. And the burrito there is not the burrito that's indoors. The burrito is not the same one as the one that's indoors at, what's the name of that place? The Henry? Henry. It's a much better burrito. But what's the biggest thing about the Overlook Grill, though, is?
You tell me. I go there for the burrito.
Guacamole.
When you and Todd looked at that tableside preparation for the guacamole, you might have teared a little bit.
Here's the thing. Neither I nor Todd Wishnev, like love guacamole. We're not guacamole people. But this one is so good that you talk, Stevie, you were talking about earlier about how like you think about certain things after the fact. I wait for the pool to reopen just so I can go back and have that guacamole. So good. That's my
Gilly. Go ahead, Mark.
I was going to keep going down my list. I got a handful more. Okay, Din Tai Fung over at the Aria, very expensive but delicious. And if I'm going to pay too much for food, I want it to be delicious, and that's what Miami Slice and Din Tai Fung have in common. You can find cheaper places off the strip, but if you're on the strip and you want delicious soup dumplings, I don't think there's a better option. Leaving the strip, to what Crack said, Hoback Korean barbecue over in Chinatown, fantastic and a great price as well. The one you mentioned, I believe you said 888, is also a good one. If you're looking for a good value over the Cosmopolitan, Hattie B's, you can get some chicken tenders, a chicken sandwich, a side, and that'll cost you under $20, which in Vegas parlance, finding a meal for under $20 is few and far between. So that's always a favorite of mine. Couple new restaurants. Gordon Ramsay Burger just opened over Flamingo, and another Vanderpump restaurant just opened at Flamingo. The Gordon Ramsay Burger is all in front. It's in the strip frontage, and the Flamingo is almost unrecognizable in that part of the property. I'm not a fan of the Vanderpump food, but the places are beautiful if you're a fan of hers.
I'm going to put the kibosh on two restaurants. Avoid them at all costs. Vanderpump and Mr. Chow. And here's why. You go to these places and you order, like my wife said, I'd like to get a filet, but I just want it plain. Can't do it. Got to put the chef's special sauce on us. You know what? F you guys. Can't give my wife a plain filet. You know what? Then I will never come back. It's like these places that the chef thinks he's bigger than you, and you got to have it his way or the highway. Well, it'll be the highway, sir. No, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chow's is the one right above Peter Luger's. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. It was disgusting. I was like, I don't know why we ended up there. I'll never go back. I also have to say this about like staying places, because we want to say the bad stuff too. I was at the airport heading back to San Francisco the other day, and a person was messing with my coffee bean order. And the guy observed like they were getting annoyed, like the employees were getting annoyed when it was completely their fault for getting, putting themselves in the situation to get annoyed. And he goes, "This is nothing." He goes, "Wait till you hear this story. I just got bed bugs over at the Flamingo, and they acted like I'm the asshole. So don't stay at the Flamingo either, if I may say that as well. You want to flirt with that kind of thing."
Hey, we've been talking about food and how you mentioned don't be stuck outside like at Delilah's, but where you want to be outside when the weather gets better. I got to tell you, I have become a huge believer in these rooftop lounges, the old Voodoo Lounge, the Ghost Bar by the Palms, but now that Legacy Club downtown. I would argue when they have their fireworks on Friday night during the summer, if there is a bucket list of one thing you should do when you're in the summertime in Vegas, it's to go to Circa's Legacy Club at dusk.
Stevie loves the Legacy Club. That's it. So that's his spot. Didn't used to go there. He goes there all the time. No, it's great. Absolutely. Mark, was that the whole list?
The bar there, by the way, at the Legacy Club, you could order half shots for if you're a bourbon fan, and pay half the price and sample many, many different ones if you're a fan of whiskey, bourbon, scotches. So I did that once, and it was one of the most phenomenal times. But the outside part is beautiful if you're just looking for a hang.
Last thing I want to mention, because we used to, I always talk about when we were younger, we did whole nightclub reviews, and then Ace would come on here and he'd give us hacks for the strip club crowd. We were so young. But now, like, even like shows, I used to go to shows. Now the only one I can ever recommend is Absinthe, because I haven't been to a show in town since like pre-pandemic. I don't know if any of you all go to shows. The one thing that I do want to say about Vegas is, and I'll say this every year, the best part about living here has nothing to do with sports betting, because believe me, there's better places than Las Vegas just to bet on sports and Nevada. But it's the music. If you are a fan of music, I always say this. When I lived in bigger cities like San Francisco or DC, if there was, if it's in your strike zone of what you like musically, you'll go see it. But if it's a little bit out of that, the schlep is such that you're like, fuck it, I'm not going because it's too much of a pain to go see so-and-so act, wherever. But in Las Vegas, the proximity of everything is the greatest part of all of it. So it's nothing, right? I always say Bruno Mars is the best show in town. If you live here long enough, you see it multiple times. I would always recommend it. It's very expensive, but he's the Michael Jackson of this era. But beyond, right? I always say it's like, okay, I don't really love Maroon 5. But if Maroon 5 is right next door at Mandalay Bay, right? Or if Lady Gaga's right next door at Park MGM, or you pick your artist, I'll go see everybody because it's so interesting to expand your musical horizons like that. So to me, that is still the greatest. And you brought up the Palms earlier. My acts like Tony, Raphael Sadiq, Babyface, the fact that they're all at the Palms, I'm there all the time watching those shows when I can. But even like this, like there's a weekend in March where I'm going out of town. I'm like, oh, damn, Jeffrey Osborne is at the Orleans. I'm serious. Like, I'm so bummed about it, right? But if you come to Vegas, my advice would be just check to see what concerts are in town that weekend, because you will be amazed what is here.
Excellent.
And the Sphere is such a world-class venue. It's so unique. You'd go there just to see the venue, and the Eagles are there. It's fantastic. A quick review. I did see Absinthe, and it is outstanding. The one thing that sets that apart, it's a very adult show. There's like almost twice as many half-naked men than there certainly are half-naked women. So just throwing that out there, that was, I found that a little, the traditional vaudeville, burlesque show in Vegas has the women. And so your wife will probably like it a lot.
I'm so glad you brought up the Sphere, because that would have been ridiculous of us not to bring up the Sphere. I never went to see U2 because I'm not a U2 fan, but I'm also not an Eagles fan. But we finally went to go see the Eagles. Me and my friends Randy and Stacy, we went to see the Eagles. And you're right, man. Just for the visuals alone, I thought they kind of I almost felt like the Eagles said, they almost shot their load the first half of the concert with the visuals. Because I think I could almost hear Don Henley being like, they should focus on us the next half of the show, right? But visually, it was unbelievable.
It's also
I would recommend it.
Also a lot of money to do the production for that. So U2 had some songs where they had no production on it. Less so to pay attention to them, more so probably because they couldn't afford to, or they didn't want to spend the money on it. Because even though they're making bank on all the shows, the production costs on it are kind of insane.
The only recommendation is don't get seats under the overhang on the first floor. Those are the only bad seats where you can't see everything. Other than that, even at the top, which, by the way, if you're scared of heights, it takes you a second to be like, whoa, this is steep as all get out. But those are great seats as well, because you get to see, the scope of the visual. But all that is great. So that'd be my last piece of advice. Did we forget anything? Anything else? No? So it's okay to come out during F1?
On the first of every month, I publish a list of shows happening in the month. So in a couple of days, you'll get everything, all the big shows, all the residencies happening for the month. So everything from Styx at the Venetian to Anima or Anima. I'm not even sure how to say it. The music is boring to me. Anima over at the Sphere. So you can catch a list of everything and make plans that way if you want.
Mark, is Dennis DeYoung singing with Styx this weekend?
Oh, good question.
I heard they were getting back. I heard they were getting back for a couple shows, and I just didn't know if that was part of this weekend. He has the greatest voice, so I do love that theater there, and I didn't know if Dennis DeYoung was coming back with Styx or not.
I don't know, and it does look like on the Venetian page that he's a member here. So I would think so, but honestly, it doesn't. There's no specific listing for it, so I'm not quite.
Gotcha.
You can make the case Renegade is a top 10 song.
Styx.
Which one? Which one, Steve?
It Styx as Renegade, right? Oh, Mom, I'm in fear for my life.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
From the Law. By the way, if you want to be a renegade and get it and still eat cheap, go up and down the Boulder Highway and get a $2.50 shrimp cocktail on the Skyline. And like I said, you can stop at the Pass Casino on Water Street. Use your player's card. You can get a $10 prime rib dinner. It's quite good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, he's right.
We leave it at that.
Take your life in your hands, but it's okay.
That's right. You gotta cheat death. You gotta cheat death, but other than that, it's a great recommendation.
Hey man, anything for a bargain. Anything for a bargain.
That's a great call on Sticks, by the way. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. It's like, oh, Michael McDonald's here with the Doobie Brothers? Sure, I'll go check that out. Before Walter Becker died with Steely Dan, I was like, sure, I'll go see that. He had a colostomy bag like while he's performing. Sticks is a great example of like a band. Like, I'd never go see them, but it's like, oh, they're all back together? Sure, it's right down the street. Why not? All right, Meltz at Meltz Vegas for Marc Meltzer, like seltzer. Bill Krackomberger is at Bill Crackman with a K. The name of his podcast is Wisecracks. And of course, every Thursday, he's on with me on a numbers game for our second hour, which is awesome. 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Bill and I never talk beforehand about what we're going to talk about. We just
never.
We don't. And then Steve Fezzik, of course, a nice person in person, but at Fezzik Sports, well, maybe not so. I'm just saying. Only back-to-back winner of the Hilton Supercontest. The only two-time winner. I keep saying back-to-back. You're the only two-time winner, period. Should be me. Okay. Thank you all for listening. Hope there was something in there, whether restaurants, sports betting, or whatever, that will help you out. Appreciate it. Next week, the Super Bowl 59 Megapod. We'll try to get Rufus in here for his annual appearance. Thanks for listening.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.